Well, now I got some more to study, Rebecca. Oh, I'll dig it. It'll be fine.
I'm sure.
Mary, do you have 5?
Yes.
Is the mayor coming?
Emily and the mayor both said they were coming.
Are you riding together? Okay.
I believe a reminder went out today.
There was one out.
But you know, I found it confusing because it looked like it was PLD today also.
Oh.
Unless I was reading it wrong, then I thought, now how can that be? PLD is not till Wednesday. Unless I'm reading it.
We've done that.
Yeah, this is my first time.
I was going to say, I don't think I can make quorum, but I am here.
Oh,
It's the ghost.
are you under the desk?
Do we get a video?
I'm hiding under the desk. Absolutely.
No, we don't have a quorum without you.
Well, I can't count.
Right, Counselor Remy, also you can start your video if you'd like. I just enabled your video. So sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I will be able to at some point. I'm still at the office, so I just need to get my office cleaned up here a little bit.
Okay.
You want me to give George a call, or have you already
I
done it?
called him, he didn't answer. He knows it's me. And I don't have a number for Emily.
So without quorum, can we still have our discussion, or do we have to call it?
Nope, we can wait up to, I think the standard is 15 minutes. If we don't have quorum by then.
Are you on your way? Joint committee? Yep, 3 minutes. Thank you. Right.
What's that?
George, are you late? I said, you're late. For what?
All over my phone's wrong. Do we know how to get a hold of Emily? Because I'd hate to have him rush down here and still not perform.
I don't have a number.
I think with George, we would have 5.
I think we can count him.
George would make number 5, right?
Yeah, George would make number 5 because
Okay.
you could invite Tammy to sit as a voting member tonight. Yep.
You can deputize somebody.
Oh.
Step right up.
Oh, no, I was thinking about Rebecca. She's been up there before.
It happens an awful lot.
He's coming. You can clap when he comes in the door.
Is Evan coming, Mary?
No. Nope.
It's just you and me
And Rebecca.
and Rebecca.
I always say that, and it doesn't pan out. So Mary, is the other meeting, is the steering committee meeting tomorrow
Yes, it's tomorrow.
at 11?
Yeah, and it'll be, I would run that. Unless I'm back, I have to take my daughter to the doctor's, but, if I'm back in time, I'll be there.
Can you just send an email out first thing, because I don't know if David's back, and it doesn't sound like Harold's going to make it.
I was thinking out loud.
Okay.
Don't say anything.
Just, we can zoom in if you want.
Yeah, it's supposed to be via Zoom. I'll send an email right now.
Thank you.
I don't think this one's controversial. We needed you.
Hey. I know, you think he's ready back there?
Yes, I'm sure he is. We can call it to work, but I'll double check. Go ahead.
Thank you.
It happened, believe me. Okay, thanks. Good evening. The hour of 6:39 having arrived, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Joint Planning Board and the Planning Licenses and Development Committee. This meeting is being broadcast on channel 1302. Anyone wishing to view a copy of the agenda and supporting materials will find it on the city website. To receive electronic copies of future agenda packets, please go to the home page and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The public and other board members will be recognized to ask questions and make comments on the agenda item under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. Will staff please conduct the roll call?
Pamela Russell Slack,
Present.
David Orgaz, Mayor George Hansel,
Here.
Councillor Mike Remy,
Here.
Harold Farrington, Roberta Mastrogiovanni,
Here.
Armando Rangel,
Here.
Emily Levine Bernier, Tammy Adams,
Here.
and Gail Summers. And Madam Chair, because we won't have quorum without Tammy sitting as a regular member, you might wish to invite her to participate as a voting member tonight.
I will definitely invite Tammy Adams. Thank you for coming.
And then and that was the planning board roll call. And for PLD, Councillor Kate Blosley,
Here.
Councillor Michael Giacomo,
Here.
Councillor Phil Jones, Councillor Gladys Johnson,
Here.
and Councillor Raleigh Olmerod.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 14th, 2022?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, changes? All in favor? Thank you. The vote is unanimous.
Madam Chair, I think we have to
Is it roll
invite,
call?
yeah, I don't know if we have to approve Counselor Remy to be able to
Um,
participate remotely.
So I'm not sure how it, for planning board, the way we do this is if anybody's participating by Zoom, we have to do a roll call vote. I'm not sure how it is for PLD.
It's the same way.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I should have thought about that. But yeah, with Counselor Remy participating on Zoom, I believe you have to do a roll call vote for all the motions this evening. So I guess, would you like me to call the roll for the
Go ahead and
vote?
call the roll.
All right, so on the planning board side, Pamela Russell Slack,
Present.
or, so this is to vote on the minutes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I guess say.
Yay.
Yay, yep. Mayor George Hansel,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Remy,
Yes.
Roberta Mastro Giovanni, Armando Rangel,
Yes.
and Tammy Adams.
Yes.
On the PLD side, Kate Bosley,
Yes.
Michael Giacomo,
Yes.
and Gladys Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the first item on the agenda is a public workshop, ordinance number 0-2022-04, relating to amendments to the City of Keene Land Development Code. The petitioner, City of Keene Community Development Department, proposes to amend sections of Chapter 100 of the City Code of Ordinances to add dwelling, multifamily as a permitted principal use with limitations to the Commerce District. Amend the height requirements in the Commerce District to allow for additional stories of height up to 4 stories or 56 feet, provided that additional building setback or building height step back requirements are met, and amend the use standards for dwelling unit multifamily in Section 8.3.1C of Article 8 to require multifamily dwelling units in the downtown core, downtown growth, and commerce districts to be located above the ground floor. And I will invite staff, is it you, Mary? For the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Brunner, Senior Planner. And if you'll bear with me for just a second, I'm going to share my screen. Right. So this ordinance is proposing, first of all, I should say that this is a proposal that's coming from the Community Development Department of the City of Keene. So this is a staff proposal. And really this is an effort to, it's part of a continuation of the Land Development Code project where, if you'll recall with the Land Development Code, well, it was a really a major effort. It was mostly just looking at the downtown zoning districts and reorganizing the rest of our regulations and making other changes, but all of the zoning districts outside of the downtown, we really didn't change the zoning map or change dimensional requirements or anything like that. We sort of left those districts mostly untouched. We did make some changes to the permitted uses, but overall, the LDC was really a reorganization with respect to the areas outside of the downtown. So right now, staff has been going through some of the other zoning districts outside of the downtown to look for what are the opportunities to promote housing in particular, and some of the other master plan goals that were identified in the 2010 Comprehensive Master Plan. So that's really where this proposal came from tonight. The ordinance that we proposed for tonight it started out with just saying, hey, why don't we allow multifamily residential to occur in the Commerce District? And then I'll go into sort of our thinking behind the changes that we're proposing. But that's really the core of this, is we're trying to create housing opportunity or opportunity for housing development in the Commerce District, while being sensitive to the context of the area. So I'll start by doing just a really high-level overview of the Commerce District, which is what's shown on the screen right now. This is a district that encompasses about 220 parcels of land. They're mostly located to the west and south of the downtown along major corridors. This is usually, this area is pretty auto-centric. It's really designed for commercial businesses that are accessed predominantly by people driving. Not to say that the city as a whole doesn't consider the needs of all users on the streets, but this is really more of our auto-oriented district. And the intent of this district is to provide an area for intense commercial development that is accessed predominantly by vehicles. Shopping plazas and multiple businesses in one building would be typical in this district. All uses in this district shall have city water and sewer service. So that's the intent statement right out of the Land Development Code. I did include in your agenda packet for tonight a list of all the uses that are permitted in this district. There are a wide variety of uses, most of them commercial, some institutional, and other types of uses. Currently, there's no residential uses allowed. And in addition, this use does allow for mixed use, so more than one principal use could be occurring on the same lot, as long as each of those principal uses are allowed in the district. Although there's no residential uses that are currently allowed, in actuality, there are a number of parcels in the Commerce District where multifamily residential is already occurring, either as a standalone use or in a mixed-use setting. I did include a list of those on page 11 of the packet. I think there's three. So I found, I think, just doing a visual scan, I found 12 multifamily properties in the Commerce District, just looking at the online assessing map. So there are some multifamily that's already occurring. Dimensional requirements in this district appear to be trying to promote a medium to high intensity of development density. Building heights are currently maxed out at 2 stories or 35 feet by right, or with a special exception, you can go up to 3.5 stories or 50 feet. But that requires a trip to the Zoning Board of Adjustment to get a special exception. The maximum impervious coverage is 80%, and the minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. The setbacks for all of the setbacks are 20 feet. However, the rear setback is increased to 50 feet if it's abutting a residential district. So staff are proposing to add multifamily dwelling units to this district as a permitted use. We are proposing a limitation that all of the residential units would have to be located above the ground floor. And this was really to address a concern that the zoning administrator had, that this is a commerce district and we want to make sure that we're promoting commercial development in this district. And so the thinking is that by not allowing residential on the ground floor, we won't be seeing a lot of parcels getting developed as just residential. We wanted to make sure that there's still opportunity for commercial development to be occurring in the Commerce District. And so the limitation would be that all of the residential units would have to be located above the ground floor, so the 2nd story or higher. And then the additional proposed changes to the Commerce District are really to the dimensional standards. Staff thought that having to get a special exception in order to increase the height adds an unnecessary layer of process that one would have to go through to get that additional height. And so in thinking through what would make sense, we thought it might make sense to propose allowing a developer to go up to 3 stories or 4 stories, a maximum of 56 feet, as long as anything above 2 stories that would have to be set back an additional 10 feet, either as a building height step back or as a building setback. I do have a graphic here. if you'll recall, a building height step back is where you have on the facade of the building, it might be at one setback from the property line. And then the step back is where at a certain height along the building, the actual building facade is stepped back. In this case, it would be 10 feet at the third floor or 20 feet if they're going up to 4 stories. So it's taking that mass of the building and bringing it further back from the street or the edge of the property so that it doesn't feel like such a tall building. And that will kind of help it fit in with the surrounding buildings around it that are all, usually 1.5 stories, sometimes 2 stories in a commerce district. We thought that was kind of a compromise. Instead of having to go to the ZBA to get a special exception, they could get the additional height by right without having to go to the ZBA, but they would have to set back either 10 feet if they're going up to 3 stories or an additional 20 feet if they're going up to 4 stories. I'm happy to go through that again if that was as clear as mud. I'm seeing some confused faces. Do people want me to go through that one more time?
Any board members have any questions?
No?
I thought that was very good, Mary, to be
Okay.
honest with you. And the visual is very helpful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So that is what is being proposed for the Commerce District. We are also proposing to modify the use standards for multifamily residential, or for multifamily dwellings in the downtown core and downtown growth districts. Already, multifamily dwelling units are allowed in those 2 districts by right. In the downtown core, it's currently limited. There's a limitation basically saying that if you have if you have less than 4 units, all of the dwelling units have to be located above the ground floor. When we were looking at that use standard, staff felt that it made sense to have that same use limitation that we're proposing for the Commerce District in the downtown core and the downtown growth districts for a slightly different reason. In the downtown core and the downtown growth, that's really our traditional downtown district that's very pedestrian oriented, where we have really high intensity of development, a lot of activity, think of Main Street and Central Square. Downtown growth, while it's not exactly like the downtown core, the community has stated that they would like to see the same feel of the downtown core be extended into the downtown growth. So staff felt it was appropriate to propose having all residential units in the downtown core and downtown growth be located above the ground floor. So that's pretty consistent with the master plan, and I did include a map in your packet and also up on the screen to show exactly what areas we're talking about. So the area shown in blue is the downtown core district, and the areas shown in gray are the downtown growth. And I did put in pink just the Commerce District, so you can kind of see it does kind of abut the downtown growth district a little bit. But with respect to consistency with the master plan, there is a whole chapter of the master plan that deals with the downtown, really recognizing that the downtown is the heart of Keene, and it's really central to Keene's overall identity. And there's a strategy within this chapter called Downtown Vibrancy, and I'm just going to read straight from it. This strategy states that as downtown businesses come and go, it is important that the community encourage an array of businesses that provide basic needs for the community and facilitate pedestrian activity, along with a variety of residential uses. The placement of those uses on first, second, or higher floors within a building are also important to maintaining vibrancy. Retail and service businesses should continue to be placed on the first floor with office and residential on the upper floors in order to maintain walkability and support downtown as a destination. So that was really the part of the master plan that we were looking at when we thought it would make sense to propose this limitation to multifamily dwelling units in the downtown core, and then extending that also to the downtown growth, just because that's an area that the community has identified again as being an extension of the downtown, and where we would like to see development that's similar to what we see on Main Street happening into the future.
Do you Chair Mosley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So before we go too much farther, I just want to revisit setbacks and talk about how they differentiate in the downtown core and the downtown growth district versus the commerce district. And can you elaborate just briefly so that for my own comparison, what were the original setback requirements that we set for downtown core and downtown growth?
Yep, so it depends on the street type, but
Okay.
predominantly in the downtown core, it's a build-to line of 0 if you're on a type A street, and I believe it's a build-to zone of 0 to 5 if you're on a type B. So the type A is, Main Street is type A. I can't remember off the top of my head what all of them are, but I can look it up for you. But really, it's much closer to the street than in any of the other districts. I believe in downtown growth, there's a little bit more flexibility. I think downtown growth might be a build-to zone of 5 feet as well.
So once you have your building and you're built to the edge, and I think in the downtown districts, they're allowed to go up, is it 7 stories with a step back?
Yes,
At what number of stories do we step back?
the 5th floor.
The 5th floor? So the top 2 stories are stepped back. And what is the step back? Is that 20 feet?
I
10
believe
feet?
it's 15 feet, but
I don't know.
yeah, I can, let me just stop my
So,
share.
and I'm just trying to visualize what these buildings are going to look like. And if you've got you're in the commerce district, and if we're not mirroring what we set for our downtown, you're gonna have these short 4-story buildings that are stepped in 20 feet. And I just wonder if you're gonna have these odd looking structures, and if that step back is too significant, if it should be, just the 4th floor at 10 feet, or I don't know why we chose those specific.
Yeah, so
numbers.
I think if there's new construction, we were sort of thinking that they would they would have a different building setback where, okay, we're building brand new, we're gonna set back 40 feet from the edge of the street and go up 4 stories.
Right, but then you're stepping, I'm talking about the step back
So-
of the
Yep,
facade.
and it's an either or. So, but in the instance where there's an existing building that is, say, 2 stories already, and someone wanted to add a couple stories on top, but it's already, 20 feet from the road, they could still do that, but they just have to have those second 2 stories set back, or stepped back from the edge of the building.
Right.
We were just trying to come up with a way to increase flexibility by including the step back. I'm not sure that, I think the building setback probably accomplishes the purpose. If you're, we're open, to input from this group on that idea.
I'm clearly not a planner, I'm not qualified to answer that, but 20 feet isn't that big, it's not that deep. And I think the reasoning for it, at least in my understanding of the conversations, was a fear that in the commerce district, if you went too high, it would dominate the streetscape too much. So what the setback does is it tends to allow the units to be built. These are probably going to be fairly significant buildings, but not having them 6 stories right up against the street. Remember that this is still an automobile-dependent district. It's not a walking district like we have in downtown. So it's kind of a mix and match from that standpoint. Is 20 feet a magic number? No, but it seemed to represent the depth of an average apartment. We had great concerns about apartments being on the 1st floor, A, because of the commerce district, but B, quite frankly, you don't want to be living in a residential unit on the ground floor and have people knocking on your window,
Yeah.
So-
So I experienced that while dining at Elm City Brewery yesterday.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they have residential units on the ground floor, and it just felt awkward that I was looking into someone's apartment.
Yep.
So I absolutely agree with that. My concern revolves around, we're not talking about 7-story buildings, we're talking about a magic number of 4 stories. And so you're gonna have 2 stories up, 20 feet in, 2 stories up, and I just feel like that's gonna
I
create
think
a,
it's 4 stories up and then 20 feet in, right?
so it's a maximum of 4 stories.
Maximum 4 stories, total up.
So
Like I
I'm
said,
just
I'm not a planner.
wondering if it's like, maybe the 4th story needs to be stepped back 15 feet, but I don't know that, I think it would look odd to have half of the building stepped back and half of it not. Just from a, and it's hard to see it without a drawing. I don't know, does anyone else have an opinion?
Counselor?
Yeah, I think in the commerce districts, because there are more automobile centric, and with the setbacks that are already in place there, the setbacks are greater, obviously, in the commerce, and I think that is going to alleviate some of the weird looking building shape. I think certainly if we had 4-story with giant step backs in the downtown growth, downtown core, I think it would look real bizarre. But I think in commerce, 4 stories isn't all that tall, and I'd be willing to bet if we looked around at some of the buildings already in the existing commerce districts, I bet we would find some stuff that already has a setback, or a step back like that we don't even notice, because we're not looking up necessarily when we're out in those districts. We're going to, where's the storefront? It's right here in front of me. I'm gonna go, do my shopping and leave. Whereas downtown, I feel like we're admiring all the streetscape a little bit more so, but that's just my opinion on it.
Mrs. Adams?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just trying to envision, say for example, on Davis Street, on the corner of Davis and Main, where the building has been removed. Now, somebody can come along and put a 4-story, 6-story, is that right? They can do that. So I'm having, I like the idea of the step backs to eliminate some of that high tunnel feeling. But this is really possibly going to change our skyline. And it's just, I'm having a bit of a trouble visualizing it. But as far as the setbacks go, I think that's an okay idea. Thank you for your explanation.
Madam Chair, one thing to just note, I think the way it's written, if somebody were to do a 4-story building, I believe that step back, if they chose to build the building 20 feet from the property line, like they could choose to build the building 40 feet from the property line and go up to 4 stories without any step back.
Okay.
If they chose to build the building 20 feet from the property line, they could go up 3 stories and then do a 20-foot step back. It could happen at the 3rd, or it has to happen above the 2nd story. And yeah, so I think that's the way, and I can double check that, but I honestly, the building height step back was an idea that we put out there just because it's already something that we have in some of our other downtown districts. I think you're probably right that the setback for new construction is probably what people are going to be using. We just wanted to add in some flexibility in case there's a building that's already out there that's 20 feet from the property line and somebody wants to add some stories. They could still do that. They would just have to set them back on the building 10 feet per story. So it's not something that, I think if you feel strongly that it's a strange thing to have in the Commerce District, we can amend the ordinance tonight.
Personally, I mean, I understand that our rules are already set for the downtown, and I like the way that it's designed. I appreciate the visual aesthetic that it creates. My concern is without some sort of presentation of what that might look like, that we're going to just get these oddly shaped, like cake-looking buildings, because 4 stories is much shorter than 7. So if you're at 4 stories and you're stepping back halfway up, I just wonder what it's going to create. And I think that if we start to see designs coming in and planning and looks at them and they're, sort of maybe not as aesthetically pleasing, or what they think, we could revisit that in the future. it's fine. I just want to point it out that it's something we have to take into consideration.
Yeah, and it definitely, that's a form-based code standard that we have in the downtown that's really meant for more of a downtown area. So it is something that we don't have in any of our other districts outside of the downtown right now. So I think it's a valid point to bring up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other board members have questions for the staff? Okay, thank you, Mary. And I know I'm supposed to open this up for public comment, but I don't believe there isn't anyone else in the room. But Mary, do we have is anyone on Zoom, or is that just for Counselor Remy?
Yep, just Counselor Remy.
Okay, thank you. So I opened the public workshop, and now I'm closing the public workshop. And so we have a little bit of board deliberation here on what we would like to do moving forward. None? No other questions? Mayor Hansel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the staff's done a good job here, trying to take a look at ways that we can maybe incentivize some multi-use housing development. And I say keep going, because we're in a pretty desperate situation. So thanks for all your work so far.
I do too, and I can honestly say, Mary, that keeping the ground floor for businesses is a really good idea. It's a really good idea. I like the idea of similar to the business in the building that we lost on Lower Main Street. All downstairs, they were businesses. Upstairs were all apartments. So, and we don't have any plans. We haven't seen any plans yet to come forward to replace that. So with that said, do I have someone that would like to make a motion to amend the draft ordinance?
So, Madam Chair, I think if you're comfortable with the ordinance as is, the motions, you'd want to do two motions, one from the planning board to find that the ordinance is consistent with the master plan. And then for PLD, you would be making a motion to recommend that the mayor set a public hearing.
Okay, so from the PLD side, I would make a motion that the mayor set a public hearing.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second by Counselor Johnson. Any questions on that motion? I don't believe we need a roll call without Counselor Remy participating in our vote. So all in favor? And that is unanimous.
And thank you, Madam Chair. I would move to find the proposed ordinance consistent with the 2010 Keene Master Plan.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? Oh, sorry, roll call.
Pamela Russell Slack,
Yes.
Mayor George Hansel,
Yes.
Counselor Remy,
Yes.